You are?
Hey, you know what these are, Mark?
Yes, sir. They're glasses.
They're glasses. I have a new petition that every official in the NFL receives a pair of these before the next season. Come on.
It's unbelievable.
We'll be right back on the Me and Jesse podcast.
Get ready. It's time for the Me and Jesse podcast with Mark Pavelich and Jesse Martineau. Get ready. It's time for the Me and Jesse podcast with Mark Pavelich and Jesse Martineau. Get ready. It's time for the Me and Jesse podcast with Mark Pavelich and Jesse Martineau.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Me and Jesse podcast. My name is Mark Pavelich, and in the grove, the big sexy, the star of the show, the one and only Jesse Martineau.
I hope everyone is happy. I hope everyone is slept okay last night. Although I know many didn't.
No.
Now,
Yes.
the greatest sadness ever in Super Bowl history belongs to me. And that can't be changed.
I agree.
Because the Seahawks ruined their dynasty. Because I do think they would, if they won that back-to-backer, they would have won one more in the next 3 years. But they didn't. So I was very sad. Last night, I guarantee you that many, many, many people around the Philadelphia area were very sad. And I would wager to say, more than sad, I would say pissed.
Cheated. I would say cheated.
I can't believe. Okay, what a great game. It was back and forth. It was high scoring. Anyone that was the people that were saying under 50 points, I'm like, this is going to be run up. We were over 70. By the way, I predicted 37-34.
Yeah.
But for the Eagles, but it was 38-34 or 35. Oh, whatever. Great. Everything's going great. The game's going great. It's great back and forth. We don't know what's going to happen. It's coming down to the wire like we want. And, throughout the game, we watched the officiating. You know what? They're letting them play. Yeah, that was PI. But, hey, they let them play. They let them play. That could have been one, too. Let them play. It's questionable. Until the last drive. What the hell happened? When you get a call like that on the Super Bowl winning play, I think that the league needs to fire every official, fire them today.
They're all old anyway.
Fire them all. Go and pick however many you need. How many officials are the NFL? It doesn't matter. However many that number is. Go to the collegiate
100%.
Pick the best of those guys and start over.
Right.
Because this, and we've said it all year long, Mark, the thing that's pissed us off the most is the lack of consistency in officiating in the NFL this year. And once again, lo and behold, on a big, how many times has this happened? The Saints, the year a few years ago when they had that bad crazy call that they beat Dallas and Green Bay. They always Des Bryant thing. They always freak out about. But how many big games in the playoffs, including Super Bowl, a bad call costs someone a championship? It is mind-blowing that the greatest spectacle in America
and the world now.
I think it. You have to put that in there. It is a world thing now. Was tainted, and I didn't even have like English words to describe the bad taste in my mouth today. Like tainted just doesn't do it. It's like someone took a dump on a plate and force-fed it to us, because that is the level of incompetency that we witnessed last night on the last play of the game.
Well, it wasn't the last play of the game,
but
it was
it ended
the last drive.
The game, essentially.
And the part that I struggle with is we see this over and over again, but the crazy part is people didn't realize that was fourth down. That would have been fourth down. They would have kicked the field goal. Doesn't mean they would have made the field goal.
No,
so
but
because
they
were a little farther back. And then they would have had about a minute and 45 seconds left.
Plenty of time.
Oh my God, to at least make a field goal, of course, right?
Yes. We head to OT.
So you believe worst case scenario, it's OT. In fact, maybe not even, they would have won the game, Philly. If Philly's not mad today about that call.
Oh my God.
And I heard one or two people on TSN and Sportsnet say that they thought it was like a legit call. And that's why you idiots should stick to hockey, because you guys talk about hockey and all of a sudden the NFL comes around. All of a sudden you're experts in NFL. You're not, okay? You're not. And it's beyond disturbing. And the reason why this is too is because I am not a Philly fan. I'm definitely not a KC fan. No. I was going for Philly in the game, but I have no dog in this race. And at the same time as I feel horrible for Philly fans. I mean, absolutely horrible. They've been run over by a dump truck today, and it's not fair in any way. They should be outraged at the NFL. Outraged.
I think so too. Now, I just want to throw out that oh my gosh, the name just escaped me of who it was that committed the penalty. But he came out and said, he class act. He's like, I tugged his jersey. And he didn't say anything. Like, he's like, tugged his jersey.
But he did say that they were letting that go all game.
They 100% were. They were letting much worse go. I mean, how do you, like, when a guy's going up and hits you in the face with his hand before you catch the ball? And remember that one play, he caught it around his arm.
They did that same thing to Dominic Sue. They called that penalty on Dominic Sue. And he was pushing up the guy's thing. They called him for like hands to the face. I'm like, when did that become hands to the face? That's just linemen going at it. Like, you got to let that shit go, man. This is NFL football. Listen, NFL's got a big problem on their hands. First of all, roughing the passer is beyond a disgrace in the NFL. Yeah. It's
I'm surprised we didn't get one of those yesterday just because.
Oh, multiple, right? It could have been multiple. But that's another thing that the NFL has to seriously look at. They have to look at pass interference, and you have to understand, if both guys are running down the field, touching each other, handsy, then it's fair game. You know, I understand the game moves quickly, but you know one thing they keep forgetting to talk about in the NFL? Like, and this is something that no one said about this play. In the rules in the NFL, you fucking idiots, okay, for the last time, I'm going to tell you this. I think it's customary that I do drop an F-bomb now every show because it has to be allocated in exactly the right place. And I'll tell you why this is allocated in the right place. Is it not, Jesse Martineau, a rule in the NFL that the ball has to be catchable to call it pass interference?
Well, that's why they called it holding. So they called it a holding call because of that. And they're like, well, again, like, Mahomes is about to get sacked. He was already under contact.
He could have put a rope around his neck and held up. The guy was not going to catch the ball regardless. So in this moment in time, you need to make the decision. Do I call that or don't? You don't call that.
You pick up the flag.
You do not call that. You pick up the flag.
And the guy that called it was looking at them in the face from the corner of the end zone back.
Correct.
He couldn't have seen that or the level of the tug. He just saw a guy stumble. Now, here's another question. Whose bright idea was it to paint the field in Teflon green or something. It's like they made a non-stick pan on the field and decided to fry an egg before it. Yeah. Everyone was sliding everywhere, kicking off.
Super Bowl.
Sliding.
It's the Super Bowl, guys. Yeah, like, no, you gotta seriously. I'm not putting down Phoenix, because when I went to the Super Bowl, it was in Phoenix.
Yeah.
But that was the great debacle, your game. And what I want to know is, who doesn't test these things? It's the freaking Super Bowl, man. We don't make mistakes like this.
We don't test something on the Super Bowl.
You do not.
You test that Miami and Carolina.
Correct.
In week 12 when no one cares. You
Correct.
paint the field then. You don't do it in the Super Bowl. I don't understand this league. And it's time us fans really go to bat and call these guys out, because it is never ending. Every year we have the same conversation.
Jesse, but it's our NFL commissioner.
Yeah, great. Get rid of him.
Literally 2 weeks ago, he said, and I had to chime up and say on Twitter, because apparently now I'm engaging on Twitter, and now people are actually paying attention to my Twitter after all these years. And don't forget, everybody, I had the blue check mark before you could get the blue check mark. And but you've been christened with the blue check mark, and rightfully so. End of story. And you know what? That's a story. And you know what? I'm telling you, when he said 3 weeks ago, that the officiating's never been better, I went on there and said, listen, man, lay off the crack pipe. You seriously have to, you cannot say that out loud, what you're saying. No, you can't say that.
It doesn't make sense. And you know what happened?
I knew I was right, because people love to disagree with me at any chance they get, but they couldn't this time.
No.
I looked down, there's literally 48,000 people that looked at the tweet or liked the tweet. It was crazy. And the reason being is because they know. I don't care if you're a Steelers fan. I don't care if you're a Seattle fan, Raider fan, KC fan, Philly fan. I don't care what you are. You've all been screwed this year. You're all screwed one way or another. The difference is KC ended up with the gold at the end of the day, but there was someone along their season today. Listen, when you're an official and you're making that call, you have to know that it's going to be fourth down, and that what you're basically doing is you're determining the game. Officials should. My father was a referee in the NHL for 1 million years in the Hockey Hall of Fame. He always said to me, it's never the job of the official to determine the game. Yes. And we keep seeing that in the NFL.
It's because they want to get on the TV.
My dad said it religiously. The best referees in the world do not determine the outcome of the game.
Yeah.
If you are involved in the outcome of the game, you're not a good official. That's not your job to make. And that was a call, regardless of what anybody wants to tell you on any bullshit network. We're telling you today on the Me and Jesse podcast, it was a travesty. The people of Philadelphia should be outraged to the highest degree. And I don't even know what to say. Like, if that happened to my team, I would be smashing televisions. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think Greg Olson did a really good job of saying, he called them out and he said that was garbage. I don't care if it is. Like, if it's blatant, fine. Okay. But you can't make that call then. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you saw it pull off and he ripped it. You just don't make that call then. And I don't care if anyone argues with me on that, because I truly believe at the end of the day, you have to let these guys play. And you had been for 59 minutes. That's what I don't get.
You know where you can learn a lesson from? The NHL. The NHL will do that at the end of the game. 2 minutes, 3 minutes left in the game. They have a thing where they hide the whistles.
It doesn't come out, especially in the playoffs.
No, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not even talking about regular season.
Yeah, right.
I'm talking about in the playoffs.
Maybe the third period they don't call one. It has to be pretty blatant.
But that's what I'm trying to tell you, because it's not their job to flip the script.
If I know who the referee is at the end of the game, any game I watch, they've done a bad job to me. Like
I agree.
Like, even if you have a ref doing a great job of doing it, there's a way that I've seen great ones, and I know, like Andy Van Helleman, we're going back quite a few years now, but yeah, it was a friend of your dad. So, but I felt, he was one that I grew up with, and he reffed all the big games too, and you never know him. On the inverse, Kerry Fraser with the hair,
totally. We can
always wanted to be on the screen. Like, there's a reason why he did his hair like that. He loved being on TV, and he would put the arm up when it mattered the most so that he would be on TV.
Jesse, you know how many times my father, and he might get mad at me saying this on the show today, and I don't care. I love you, Dad, and I want you to know that, but I have to say it for you because I know how you are. My dad is a prince, okay? He doesn't want to talk bad about nobody. And my dad, you know how many times he's been approached to write a book, Jesse? A million times. Because as you know,
I've heard so many of them. Like there's great stories.
Correct. So, and you've been at the coffees when he comes for Christmas. We're talking about it. So one day I say to him, I said, Dad, what do you think of Kerry Fraser? You know, and in the most politically correct way, he says he's horseshit. Like he's horseshit. Like he's never going to be in the Hockey Hall of Fame. He wasn't that great of an official. My dad,
but he was on TV a lot. That's the thing. And that's why we remember.
The John D'Amico's, the Van Hellemans, the McCall, like these great
McCauley
officials.
I really like
Bruce Hood, all these great officials. And my dad said that he was just like you said, Jesse, wanted to be on TV, wanted to be the personality of everything. But was he really that great of an official? Not so much. My dad doesn't want to write a book because you know what he said? A lot of the people are still alive and he doesn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I said, Dad, that's the exact
what
reason.
We should get him to do is write it and then wait until everyone's gone and then release it.
And then drop it. Like it's a little, Jesse, it literally is. My dad's 90 years old.
Yeah.
I said, Dad, who do you give a shit who you offend anymore right now? Like you're not that guy. But why don't you write the book and tell the truth? Because he knows some stories that a lot of people in the NHL world don't even know about.
Well, he was like, I don't know if you guys know this. And we had Mr. Pavelich on the show before, but he was the guy that told the Russians to come back on the ice or they're not going to get paid during that Broad Street Bullies game. He was the guy that went down there and he spoke. I guess they understood him because he speaks Croatian, but someone understood him on the thing.
There was some kind of thing there where they were.
But he said, "You guys aren't going to get paid unless you come back out here right now." And he was there, like he was in all those games. The stories would be incredible, but I think more so the understanding of what it is to be a good official is what really needs to happen, because I think there's a mentality that has taken over, and Kerry Fraser was maybe one of the first that started that, about getting on TV and being like, this is my game. And that isn't, to me, what they should be doing. This is their game. I'm just making sure that this field is as even and as level as possible.
Jesse,
and I haven't made a call all game long about this, and now I am, because it doesn't make sense.
Jesse, it's the same mentality as a defenseman in the NHL. You know the best defensemen in the NHL are? The ones you never hear about. You never hear about them. Nick Lindstrom.
Until they're holding the cup, right?
Nick Lindstrom, one of the best of all time, Detroit Red Wings. Sure as shit. You never heard about him after the game, and everybody's like, oh, yeah, because you know his plus minus was perfect all the time.
Jeez.
He did everything very simple and very easy, but never got them in trouble. And they won a few Stanley Cups when he was there. That's what a great defenseman is these days. You know, but the problem is you're looking at a game now that's very different. Now you have 4 officials on the ice instead of 3, and they're still missing things. You have video review, which they never had. You know, there's huge things now that are so different. NFL, I don't know how you miss calls. When you have a call that serious, that's when you call that. You go over to the video monitor when it's that crazy of a situation, and you all go over there, the 10 of you, and you go, no, man, that's not a penalty, especially in this situation. We're going to reverse it. We're going to pick up the flag. Maybe KC fans will get mad, but at least it'll be fair.
Yep.
And we'll continue on with the game.
Nobody would be talking about that today.
No,
if they let that go, because they'd let it go all game long. Like,
correct.
That was the thing. They let it go all freaking game long. It just does not make sense.
And you said it best, though. The Super Bowl, you said to me this yesterday, it's the best day of the year and the saddest day of the year. Because if you're a real NFL fan, as you indicated to me, and I couldn't agree more with you, Jesse, I never looked at it that way, but it's so funny, regardless if my Raiders didn't have a chance to be there, the Seattle Seahawks weren't there. You know what was funny? When it's over, I'm so sad. Sad.
You gotta wait.
I'm like
6 months.
And then I look over and there's Mrs. P smiling. Like, yeah, we can go out to brunch again. You know, it's
Yeah. I mean, but I think that's, to me, that's the allure of football. I love that it's only that many months, 5-6 months, and it's over. And then you have to wait half a year for it to happen again.
That's the kind of the intensity of the whole thing.
I think so too.
So when people are, now we're all waiting for what happens next. We all know what happens next. The draft. The draft happens
next.
Combine. No, not yet. We get the draft, and then we all get all crazy about the draft, and then we get all excited about that. And then the combine starts. They do that one, like it's the pre-combine.
Yeah.
So they do a pre-combine. That's not the training camp. That's like a pre-combine. And then they do the actual the real training camp. And then we get into it, and then boom, before you know it, the summer's over, September comes, and we're losing our minds again.
Yeah.
And listen, it's weird because unless you're an NFL fan, I heard Joe Rogan say it best yesterday. He said the reason why I don't play golf is because I know I would get addicted to it and I would fall in love with it, and something else in my life would be sacrificed.
Yeah.
And same thing with NFL.
Yeah.
If you actually become a real NFL fan, and I've converted about a half dozen people that I know into real NFL fans, and I'm telling you, man, you wear it on your sleeve. There's nothing. Only thing I can compare it to, baby, maybe is World Cup soccer. That's the only thing I can compare the fanaticism to. You know what I mean? Because
yes, absolutely.
If the Raiders lose, I literally on occasion will be upset for the half the day.
Yeah.
And then I'm mad, and then my wife usually shakes it out of my head. And then I wonder why they left Derek Carr as the quarterback for as long as they did.
It's hard when you know your team could win if there was some things. For me this year it was great because Gino won. The comeback player. Yeah, comeback player of the year. And I mean, rightly so. Like, really, like you had a pretty rough career up to this point. But I think that for me it was great this year because every win was so great, and because I had expected so many losses. So every time that didn't happen and they won, it was great. But when they did lose, I'm like, wow, that sucks. But I kind of expected that this year. But again, I think that, and you know what else, which is crazy, as much as we are hyped about the NFL, college football in the States, I don't think people understand the level at which they take that there. If you think like you bleed, green and gold for the Packers or whatever, or black and silver for you, those college teams, like they'll disown family members if they go to a different school.
Jesse, I grew up in Windsor, Ontario, right across from Detroit, Michigan. 1 mile away from Detroit, Michigan. I'm wearing my Detroit hat because the Red Wings are in town this week. They're playing the Oilers, and I'm going to the game. But you know what's funny? I grew up as a Michigan Wolverine fan. And I even know the Michigan Fight song.
Yeah.
Because we grew up right there, and we literally the big house in Michigan.
And it is big. What
is
it hold? 114 or something?
114,000 people in a football stadium.
And they're not drinking because you're not allowed drinking at a college game. So that's just straight. I mean, they were drinking before.
They're already drunk when they're there.
They're drunk.
Trust me, that's bullshit. They're drunk. Yeah, they're smashed.
But the level at which, and I would love to be at a Notre Dame game one day. That is one of my dreams, to be there. But you look at the passion and the intensity of that, and then you add the Super Bowl, and now, I can't get by it. I don't know. I hope that they don't let this slide like everything else. I hope that this keeps coming back and haunting the NFL until they finally change something.
Why? Because we talked about this last year. You and I talked about this last year.
Yeah, because it still hasn't changed.
But we're talking about it this year again, and we're complaining about it. But they haven't changed. So what does it take before that happens?
I don't know.
I mean, if Philly fans aren't storming the offices,
it should be
of Roger Goodell, I don't know what the hell's going on, because it is disturbing by all. You understand how hard it is to get to the Super Bowl, everybody. It is like, you know what? And I'm gonna say this today too. I hate KC because they're in my division.
Yeah,
and
I don't like Mahomes. I'm not a Mahomes fan. I'm not against his talent. That's not
what I'm trying to tell you. What I'm trying to tell you, yes, in all things. but you cannot take away Mahomes' greatness on the field. You cannot.
No.
You can talk shit about him. You can say whatever you want. He's got the goofiest voice in the world. He's kind of a goofy guy. But what I'm trying to tell you is, and listen, I wanted to do the same against, Kelsey.
Yeah.
I want to do the same against him. I don't like him. I find him disturbing when I see him talk. But you know what's funny? He's one of the best damn tight ends in the history of the NFL. You cannot listen. That's one thing about the Me and Jesse podcast. I can hate you, I can dislike you, but I can give you props. And I'm giving Mahomes and I'm giving Kelsey major props because one thing they were right about yesterday when Kelsey said it, and I you know what I said when Kelsey was saying it, I'm like, you know what, Kelsey, you're right to say that because nobody gave him a chance. Nobody was picking them before.
Nobody did pick him. Nobody picked him
at the beginning of the year. In the
in the beginning of this game. Yeah. Right.
Jesse, at the beginning of the year, in the middle of the year, after the Christmas break, nobody was picking them. They were all talking about Buffalo. Oh, Buffalo. Oh, maybe, Dallas. Remember, they were talking about Dallas. They were like Buffalo, Dallas, and then it got to this, and people were like, "Wow, maybe Philly, not KC though." And so when Kelsey said yesterday, he goes, "Nah, man, you guys never said we were going to win." So put some respect on our name, and I was like, you know what? He's right.
Yeah, no, I think so too. I think to count them out is crazy, and Andy Reid is awesome, by the way. The way he adjusted at halftime.
But is anybody forgetting who they lost? Is anybody forgetting what KC lost?
Yeah, no more Tyreek Hill. But that's, I think, helped them.
What do you mean no more Tyreek Hill? What do you mean no more Tyreek? That was huge.
No, dude. You know what? I actually think it helped them. I think it actually helped them because the problem is that Tyreek was the guy, and I'm not saying that Tyreek isn't good, but now when you look at that offense, how many weapons they have, like it was like it rotated through guys. Like Kelsey had a great quarter.
Yeah.
The number 10 now, not even Edwards-Helaire, but he had a great running quarter. Then Juju Smith-Schuster showed up in the third quarter.
Oh my God, was that a name? Can anybody tell me when the last time we heard Juju Smith-Schuster's name that many times in a game?
But that was they rotate through their guys. It's crazy. Like that's what I love about Andy Reid, and because, you're like, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to shift it to this guy now. And now without Tyreek there, I really do think it opened up more options because all these guys are catching balls now.
He had a quarter yesterday in the game. A quarter. The entire quarter was about him.
Yes.
And it was like Mahomes dedicated a quarter to him.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe it. I'm like, you guys don't see, he threw it 10 times in a row to him, and you guys still haven't figured out this.
Well, then Kelsey had the first quarter because he got the TD, and then the running back took over the second quarter, which was a little slower, but then third quarter, and then by the fourth quarter when Juju took over, like
it's crazy,
man. And that's what's scary about them. And people, I thought they would have had to, and they did a bit. I thought they would have had to establish a bigger run because that was like only Philly's only hole in the armor. That was it, if there was one. But that being said, shows Mahomes, like, and again, like, you have to give him credit. Like, he was clearly hurt on that tackle. Like, there was no joke. Like, he wasn't acting. Like, that was real. Like, that hurt and re-aggravated his injury, and he still comes out and does what it does, and he scampers for like 25 yards in the third or whatever. And man,
if you're in your office, Jesse, if you're in your NFL office coming in the next month or two, and you're not watching what the Philadelphia Eagles did and what KC has done, and you're not breaking down your team in that direction, don't even get on the field next year. You're wasting your time. You're wasting your season tickets. You're I'm telling you, if you don't figure a way, you don't have a pass rush. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't have a pass rush. And Max Crosby, I'm talking to you right now. You can't have one player that just does the pass rush. Both your ends have to be pass rushers, and you have to have linebackers that can pursue as well. And if you don't have that going into the season, pack it in. You're not going to get anywhere close to the playoffs. You're not going to get any more revenue. Listen, they broke down everything for you. They're showing you what they did, and if you can't duplicate that,
I think with
done.
Philly, like, everyone, and Hurts played good. Like, I've been a fan of Hurts. I know that he's had a lot of hate, but I have been a fan of him. But you can't tell me it doesn't hurt having the best O-line in the league either. Because here's a question. Where the hell was Miles Sanders?
Yeah.
He touched the ball twice in the first half and maybe 3 times in the second half. You relied on this guy all season long. Where did he go?
You know who was a standout was Kelsey's brother, the center for Philly.
I mean, he's an all-world. Like, that guy is the best center maybe ever to play.
He is unreal.
Yeah.
I watched him. I watched that machine of a human being. And you know what? I get this is so weird how when you can hate someone like I hate Kelsey from KC, how I can switch though and have this weird admiration. That's why they say love and hate is very close to the same thing. Love and hate, because when he was talking about his brother that plays for Philly and they asked him after the game, they thought he was going to crack off, and he said, "No, man, I'm in pain. My brother played so good and lost." And he started crying, And I said, "Wow, I look at Kelsey different now."
Yeah.
Like I do.
I
I
have less of a problem with Kelsey's attitude than I do Mahomes. But again, on the field, we can't argue. Like, I mean,
nope.
They know what to do. Their coaching's unreal. They're obviously offensive weapons, and their defense, it
stood
bent.
Up. They stood up.
It bent, but it didn't break. And
they
you
got
gave up 35, but
they got sick about hearing about Philadelphia's defense, right?
And
so they actually stepped up.
And you look at Philly's D, and you're like, "Ooh, man, you let 37 go." That it took every other team 2 games to do that this year. So, so you're like, okay, well, is Mahomes already in the GOAT conversation?
Not yet, Jesse.
I'm not saying he is. I'm saying
we're doing that too early.
Is he starting the conversation? Guy's got 2 Super Bowls. He's
we're
MVP.
Doing that too early. We're doing that too
he
early.
won the MVP this year and is the Super Bowl MVP. Been to 3. But
we're doing it too much already. We're doing it too quick. We're doing it too quick. And MMA is destroying the word GOAT when they talk about anything. And when it's listen, we're getting to the point now where it's like, is he in the conversation? No. Is he in the batter's box? Yes. But he's not in the conversation just yet. There's so many. Listen, you still have to pass the Brett Favres of the world. You still have to pass those guys. Before you get to the actual GOAT, okay, which is Tom Brady.
Yes.
And that's going to be a tough one to ever beat, okay?
Sure.
In this day and age. And it's the same thing when people want to argue all they want. When you want to get to the Michael Jordan, okay, LeBron, you are the best scorer of all time. But guess what? You played 5 more seasons. You played 5 more seasons than Jordan did. There's nobody greater than Michael Jordan. Nobody. If you had all the money in the world and you said, let's play a game of 1-on-1, Michael Jordan against LeBron James, who do you put your money on? LeBron James. Just like in golf. You could say Tiger Woods because we have social media. Everybody's like, Tiger Woods, the greatest golfer of all time. When he goes to bed at night, he knows it's Jack Nicklaus. He knows it's the Bear. You know why? Jack Nicklaus has the most majors to this day. They didn't have social media back then. Jack Nicklaus was a fierce competitor. He was an animal. And if they played 1-on-1, Jack Nicklaus against Tiger Woods, Jack Nicklaus would win 9 out of 10 times because he was an absolute animal. This is what I'm trying to tell you. In the MMA world, they should have their tongues cut out when they keep talking about who's pound for pound, who's this and that. John Jones is pound for pound the greatest MMA fighter in the world. When they were talking this weekend that Islam was the pound for pound and Volkanovski was the pound for pound, I'm like, shut up, everybody. You're not. John Jones is pound for pound. He's back in the UFC right now.
Yep.
That's it. He's pound for pound the greatest MMA fighter in the world. Shut up, everybody. You're making a fool of yourself. I watch these shows all the time. There's no arguing this. I know. I'm being honest. I want to tell you. People want to say, oh, Tiger Woods, the best golfer of all time. He's not. Jack Nicklaus. Boom. Michael Jordan. Boom. You want to know? That's who it is. You can't break down it's harder to break down maybe baseball. People can say it's this guy or this guy or this guy. I personally say it's Babe Ruth. That's my opinion because of his character, of who he was. The guy was smoking cigars on his way to the plate. I mean, come on, But the moral of the story is that's a discussion we can all debate. You can watch the show. You can tell me I'm wrong, but I'm not. It's just these are people that are the greatest of all time. And also, funny thing happened yesterday. First time in history, Sid the Kid Crosby, who I have the utmost respect for, got kicked out of his first hockey game yesterday.
Hey, that's great. Finally.
He got kicked out.
I love Sid. I really do.
Me too.
I don't like his whining because he does do that a bit.
Yeah, he does it
versus OV, like who didn't really. And yeah, you got OV. Like he didn't whine. He got mad, but he didn't whine about
OV
stuff.
wasn't a whiner.
No,
he's not a whiner.
Yeah, and so, but I love Sid in terms of like leading the team, and for how long now? Like, and national teams. And
did you see what he did? They asked the other day, Jesse. They literally asked a bunch of coaches, who would you rather have, McDavid or Sidney Crosby? And 9 out of 10, these weren't like NHL coaches. These were just coaches around hockey. And 9 out of 10 said they'd want Sidney Crosby over.
Hey man, I've said it before that there's something that you can't. There's something you can't teach, and that's the leadership quality and the leadership aspect of those guys. And
Gretzky
Sid has
said
it. Jonathan Taves has it. Gretzky had it. OV has it.
Yeah.
You look at those guys, and there's a reason why they're the captains of their country's teams.
Come on.
There's a reason.
Gretzky said it the other day. It doesn't matter what anybody does. If you don't win the cup, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Hey, he's right.
McDavid can be the best highlight reel in the world. We'll all watch his highlight reel and he'll be on some video somewhere and we'll be like, oh, that guy was so great. If he don't win the cup, it don't mean anything. And I'm telling you, the Oilers window is very short. And what I mean by that is listen, I think the Oilers are going to win the cup this year. I said it at the beginning of the year. I think they're going to win the cup this year. What scares me is because they got kind of close last year, right? They got a little bit closer. And they're playing tough hockey now already. The problem is if they don't win in the next few years, we all know what happens.
What's the
now.
window? 3?
3 years. If they don't win in 3 years, we go to the dismantling process again and reload. And you know what happens then? You start getting in the category of certain teams that haven't won for 20 years or 15 years, and it keeps going on. But I think they're going to win this year. I see certain things that they're doing that they never did before. When I start seeing other players sticking up for Evander Kane and not Evander Kane sticking up for the other players, I'm going, wait a second here. This is exactly what they said last year before they played the Calgary Flames. They said they weren't a tough team. They didn't have enough toughness, but they beat Calgary by playing straight hockey. And what I'm saying in hindsight, forget about Calgary's and all that. You got to get past Colorado.
Yeah.
You got to get past all these people, and you got to be tough. And if you're not tough, you can't win the Stanley Cup. We've all seen it before. I'm not talking about fighting. There's nothing. Listen, one of the most exciting things in the entire world, whether you're a hockey fan or not, is playoff hockey. Playoff hockey is another level. It's like you watch hockey now and you watch hockey in the playoffs. It's two different hockeys. So you get it. You got to get excited about playoff hockey. And I'm telling you, I said it at the beginning of the year. My wife laughs at me all the time because I keep reminding her that I said the Oilers are winning the Stanley Cup this year. And my wife even laughs at me because she's like, they're not going to win the Stanley Cup this year. And then yesterday they go into Montreal and lose 6-2. And my wife, of course, starts laughing at me again and tells me they're not going to win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, well, again, it's one of those things. It's tough. I would say they're top 5 to be there.
Yeah,
it is, and it's I don't. Maybe Colorado. You have to get through Colorado. There's no other way around.
Yeah,
this.
you have to get through Colorado. Yeah,
if you can get through Colorado, you got a shot.
It's the same thing with the Leafs. They got to get through Tampa Bay. They got to get through all these things.
And maybe more so over there. Like there's a lot more teams that can do that right now on that side that do. But hey, we have some teams that are rising that we didn't think were going to rise, like Seattle. How the heck is this happening? But here we are. Like That's how it works.
Culture, teams, culture. Look at Vegas. We always said it. Vegas started from day one making the playoffs. So now they just think that that's a normal process, which it's not.
No.
And then they got far. They almost got to the cup final.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So in hindsight, like I said back then, I didn't want them to win. Even everybody wanted them to win. I'm like, I don't. I want them to suffer, just like the rest of us have to suffer. And we keep going this way. But you'll find out it's not that easy. That's why I feel bad for Philly fans, because you made it to you made it there. But that doesn't guarantee next year you're going to make it. We've seen the Super Bowl hangover, which some of those teams end up being 500 and don't make the playoffs the year after. We've seen them be like,
if anyone could do that, it's Philly.
Yes.
If anyone could go 500 next year, it could be them.
You know
because
what,
you don't. But
I love their coach. I love their coach. I think, I saw him crying during the national anthem. And people were cracking off, and I'm like, nah, I'm okay with that. You get people cracking off, right? So but that's Americans. But
it's California.
But there's people like him that I remember when he got signed and he was stuttering because he was so nervous, and people were cracking off about him, and I'm like, maybe.
Hey man, he took a team that nobody thought would even make the playoffs.
Correct.
Let's be real. Not many people thought they would make the playoffs, let alone, going down to the last drive of the game.
Yeah.
On the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
But hey, that's why we play the games. That's why it makes it so good. Like, I just hate it when it's tainted.
And the season's over. NFL football's over. Now we're going to talk about hockey. LIV Golf. LIV Golf is coming back.
Yeah.
On schedule.
They some rumors around they're running out of money.
Well, because they dump so much of it. I don't know how you're going to recoup that money. Like, when you're looking at the mathematics, which you're paying Phil Mickelson, which you're paying Dustin Johnson, which you're paying all these guys, I'm like, how can you recoup
right
this
now
money?
It doesn't seem like there's enough things being sold.
Yes,
recover
you can only sell so many hats and T-shirts and tickets. Like, that's not going to do it for you.
Sponsorship dollars and TV dollars.
Well, they got a TV deal, and I'm like, it's a shitty TV deal. I didn't think it's good at all. Like, I think you could have shot for way bigger than that. Like, but I don't know, man. I want it to work. I really do, but I don't know, man. Like, I don't see the math working out for them. It's great that you have Saudi Arabia money behind you, but even those guys run out of dough sooner or later.
Yeah, it would. But again, like, it is one of those things. Like, well, they do have pretty deep pockets. Like, probably make it go for a while.
Almost endless. They're almost endless, right?
I think once, and it will dip right now because the Masters come up right away, and if you're gonna watch a PGA event, you're gonna watch the Masters, and there's no question everybody watches that. That if you're gonna watch golf, that's what you're gonna watch.
Yeah,
but then it's LIV's turn. Like, LIV this summer has to put it on. They have to double down on everything that they've been doing. You see now the PGA trying to copy and imitate what LIV has done.
More money now. The PGA now, Jesse, all of a sudden, prize money's more money now.
Weird. Weird how that happened. We have more money now. We can give some more out. Yeah, okay. So the same as UFC, like Dana is like, are these guys writing another check? Like, writing a check his wife can't cash, but.
What day are we on with that? Did you ever see a guy in your entire life smack out his wife and still got a pass? It's mind-boggling. Like, it's absolutely mind-boggling. I saw Max Crosby over his house yesterday or whatever saying, I'm here hanging out with Uncle Dana. And I was thinking to myself, hey, Max, I know you're in the NFL, bro, but not a good look. Yeah. Like, don't be putting your arm around that guy in a picture with your kid. This guy, listen to me when I tell you, he smacks out his wife and gets a pass. I don't get it. I'm not going to give it any more validity, but I am going to not let it go away. And the thing I'm just baffled how you get a pass. And it's the way it is now. It's, when people want to talk about rich white guys, if
you want to talk about white privilege, well, there you go. That's it. There, like, that.
Talk about that
happened.
In school. When you want to talk about.
Hey, by the way,
yeah.
Did you hear Bill Cosby's going on tour?
That's insane.
I'm not even kidding, dude.
That's insanity. Like,
he's out of the Jam, he's out of the Clink, and he's going on tour. Don't order any drinks at his shows.
Yeah, gonna get roofied. Can you imagine? Like, are you serious, Jesse?
Yeah,
he's
dude.
going on tour.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's the thing. Like
Next, you're gonna tell me
see,
R. Kelly's going on tour when he gets out.
yeah,
too,
he
right?
probably
If
will.
I don't think he's getting out though.
Him and Kanye. Now,
Yeah, it's unreal.
here's the thing. Like, this is why I get so mad about this kind of thing, because people only get mad about what they can get mad about. And if it doesn't bug them, then they don't say anything. It's not like an actual principled thing that people are upset about. It's just because, well, I don't like this guy, so then he's bad guy. And that, you see that throughout all the things, and you see it in sports. So you see some guys go down for things that you're like, okay, well, that he got flamed for that, and then another guy do something 10 times worse and gets a pass.
Well, the thing, the crazy part is that it was on video, so I don't believe much anymore in this world. I don't. That's why I never watch the news anymore. I don't watch the news anymore. I don't watch anything. But when I see it on videotape, and the videotape's not doctored, it's actually did happen, and they both admit to it, I struggle with that immensely. So it was on videotape, and they let him stay, nothing, no repercussions, no nothing. And I'm like, this is the world we live in now. But I'm telling you, I look at him different. I look at their organization different. I'm not that excited about watching it anymore.
Well, you watched it on Saturday.
I watched it on Saturday because I like Volkanovski, and what he was doing was special, and he lost. But then they find out that Islam might have did a little IV after his weigh-in, which you're not allowed to do in the UFC, which I don't know why. But
it is weird. You're not allowed, but
you're not allowed.
If you're not allowed, you're not allowed.
Yeah. So, that's what they said, but it was a great fight. I enjoyed watching it, but like I said, it's not like I'm running to do it anymore. It's not a thing for me because, what's going on there? I'm not supporting it. I'm not a supporter of them per se. I'm a supporter of people that actually are fighting. And that's where I lie now. When Francis Ngannou left the UFC and now he's going to pursue other things, I think it's one of the things that, and I can't believe that Conor didn't do the exact same thing.
Should have done it.
I think what he's doing now is so degrading that he's coming back to do the Ultimate Fighter, and he's doing that. I think that hurts his brand.
He must be he must be getting a big cut of this.
They would have to give him a wheelbarrow full of money to do it, because I don't know why he would do it. Because
do you think do you think they're gearing up to give him part ownership in this thing?
Well, something
in the UFC.
Well, not of the action. Well,
yes.
Maybe,
yeah. No, I do.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. I do think they're gearing up.
You could be right, because I can't see him doing this for like a few $100,000 or whatever. I just can't see it, because he literally could be one of the guys like Francis Ngannou to pull the trigger and go, you know what, man? Nah, I'm gonna do some boxing fights, and I'm gonna do them, and I'm gonna do my own pay-per-view. I'm gonna do. But he did,
and I think they'd let him have that shot, and maybe this is now okay. I'll pay you back in terms of my time. And
interesting, yeah.
If it is a loyalty thing, maybe it is. Maybe that's a loyalty move he's doing. Which okay, fine, respectable. If you want to do it, great. But it is weird on this side looking at it, like, why would he do this? And now they're talking about coming back and fighting who was
Chandler.
It? Chandler.
Yeah.
And you're like,
okay. Not the best fight for him.
No, it isn't.
No.
The people who wanted him to fight Holloway, was that what it was?
No, they were talking about Holloway doing it. They were talking about Poirier again. They were talking about.
I don't think Poirier.
And Poirier beat him twice now, and he's beat Chandler. So Poirier's in Never Land, and these two are gifted. I don't know how Chandler is gifted to do something this big when he literally has beat two guys that are way over the hill, and the other guys he got lambasted by. He's got a losing record in the UFC, and now they're putting him with a big fight like with Conor. I mean, it's bananas. Like, people, I don't know if you follow sports as deeply as we follow it, but it's like, it doesn't make any sense in why Chandler got this opportunity.
Yeah, I don't understand why.
Zero.
But again, like, this is my problem with the UFC, is that it seems like there isn't that much strategy to everything. It's like, okay, well, this works.
Exactly. The creativity is
we built this
lacking.
thing, and now we just do what we want.
And well, of course, look what happened with the owner. Smacks out his wife and nothing happens. Yeah. So why don't we just keep doing this? We'll raise the pay-per-view prices, and we'll just keep regurgitating whatever we can find next. There's no more Diaz brothers. There's no more Ngannou, who is easily at the time the most polarizing heavyweight ever because of his knockout power.
Yeah.
And he walks off. What the hell is going on with the sport when your champion literally walks off?
He doesn't want to. Yeah, exactly. You're not treating him right. You're not treating him right. Yeah.
Yeah. You're not.
And that's, I would love to see the numbers of demographics of people under 30 watching the UFC. I would love to see that number because
that'd be interesting.
Because I guarantee you that's low.
You know what they're watching? They're watching celebrity boxing with Jake Paul.
And that is my point.
Yeah, and they are, and you can get mad all you want,
but they're watching. That doesn't matter. Like, that's not the point. The point is they're watching that. Okay,
KSI.
You can't just slap. I mean, you can't just give the UFC to the But this is better. They're not gonna think that. They don't know. They have no relation with any of the fighters there. They know Jake and Logan because they grew up with Jake and Logan.
And now
they watched them their whole life.
Now Logan and KSI are partners in Prime.
Yeah, which I think he should get out of instantly. The KSI not showing up to the press conference is bullshit.
Yeah,
they need to axe him instantly. KSI is a joke, in my opinion. I do not think that he should be.
But no. But KSI is partners with
Logan Paul. They joined
in the drink.
Prime. Now, which is now the sponsor of the UFC.
And the UFC.
Holy moly.
And now you have Jake fighting Tommy Fury. Now Tommy Fury's not showing up to the press conferences again and again.
Oh, Tommy Fury, yeah.
And
now, the thing,
and now you might not even get Tommy Fury on the date when they fight.
No, he might not show up.
You're right, Jesse. It's a 50-50 if he actually shows up. They actually have a fighter in reserve for Tommy Fury because they have Mike Perry, who used to fight in the UFC, as the backup fighter for Tommy Fury, just in case he doesn't show up.
That should say everything. That should say everything.
Tommy Fury, if you don't show up to this fight, you chicken shit, you basically have bunked out of this thing multiple times.
No one can fight him again. If he doesn't show up, he should never. No one should ever agree to a fight with him ever again. If that's the case,
with your brother, your half brother, who is literally one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, how embarrassing it would be for their family. You should literally be hung by Big Ben in England. You should be hung because it's catastrophic how you've done this over and over again, and you have to show up. And I'm telling you right now on the podcast, Jake Paul blasts him. He beats him within 4 rounds. He knocks him unconscious. I'm telling you, it's going to happen.
And someone just commented, I haven't watched UFC since Frank, Ken, and Vitor were out.
But the person's right though, because they had those characters. Look what they just said. They said bang, 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 bang.
And that is it. And the UFC never developed that. No, they didn't develop it. The same trap as the PGA is in. And how are you going to get young people to watch? And that's the thing. Like, I don't think there's foresight or vision in progressing it beyond yourself. And I don't think Dana cares about that. Dana cares about Dana. So then I only need to do what makes me happy, and I'm going to do it. And when I leave, I'll just leave, and that'll be it. But a real leader, a real visionary that really wants to progress something will be thinking about the next generation now while you're having success. Like, how do we start building for the next generation? We need these guys. I mean, the NHL did that. The NHL did that in the 90s because they're like, okay, we see that kids are losing touch with hockey. How do we get them back? Start to make things more fun. Like, hockey cards were a big thing for my generation.
And what about the HBO thing too that they did? They did the thing exactly like the NFL.
Yeah.
They did the same thing. They showed behind the scenes in the NHL. It started to humanize a lot of these players and coaches, and all of a sudden people started getting more interested in hockey.
So what's going to have to happen? Well, the UFC is going to have to take a page out of the Paul book, because the Paul book, nobody can argue that it doesn't make money.
Oh, it does. Yeah.
It makes a ton of money, and people watch. Whether you like it or not is a moot point, because this is all about entertainment at the end of the day for these guys, and that's what they're doing. So the UFC has to take a page out of that and start to apply that to their own thing. Otherwise, they're going to lose a generation of people and have to wait another decade or more to get people to come back, because it just isn't happening. So you need these guys to be a little different. You need these guys to be like, why isn't the UFC doing, stories? Why aren't they doing telling?
Why don't you know about certain people on the personal
why
level?
aren't they
like
going to the country
F1,
and meeting
like
their
F1?
mother-in-law?
I know. Yeah.
In the village where they came from. Like,
no, they want to do the Ultimate Fighter, which is once again a failing show, and it's failing.
It's like
failing.
a bunch of nobody wants to watch a bunch of dudes that are like jacked up on testosterone, flexing all the time. We're sick of that.
Yeah.
We don't want to watch that. We want to laugh at things. We love. I mean, again, I hated the Pauls, but now I love them. I honestly do. I watch the Impulsive Live. Like, I watch these guys because they're entertaining. They know they make a ton of money and they make fun of themselves for it. They're not, and this is what speaks to younger people now is you have to at least appear authentic. And right now with the NFL, with officiating, with the UFC, with the PGA, that authenticity where they keep the shield and barrier up as we're the high and mighty NFL. We're the Lord of all golf. We're the Lord of all MMA. Bow to us because we are the ultimate power.
It's funny.
It falls flat.
I never thought in my life that I would ever come out of retirement for MMA or for anything else in that position. If LIV MMA started tomorrow and they called me on the phone, I know what I could do. And you know what else too? LIV Golf. Even the TV deal that they got is basically, in my opinion, a disgrace for LIV Golf. With people like Dustin Johnson and these other golfers that they got, I think it's disgraceful. I think they should have shot way bigger. They could have did multiple networks. They could have signed multiple networks for millions and millions and millions.
Who was the network that signed them?
I don't even remember the name. You could look it up, but it's very obscure.
To me, that's weird that Fox wouldn't jump on that.
No, exactly. So what I'm saying is you don't have the right people. I love Greg Norman. I've always loved Greg Norman, but I don't think he's the guy for that. And what I'm trying to tell you is like, it's great that you're all like enjoying yourselves and everything, but this is a business. You got to get out there and hustle, right? And if you had LIV MMA and you have LIV Golf, these things would both succeed. LIV MMA would be 10 times easier than LIV Golf.
Yeah.
Because as you've seen, the heavyweight champion of the world exit stage left, like he just did. That means he can't be the only one that's not overly happy. What about Israel Sanya? He also spoke about that, about how he admired Francis for what he did, because they all know they're not making the money they should be making. When your company says you're worth $3 billion or $4 billion and you're paying people 10 and 10 as their first fight of the night, that's a joke.
Yeah. It's the CW that got, it's the 25th most watched network in the States. I don't know why they went for that one.
Did you hear what I said? There you go.
Yeah.
I don't, that's how obscure it is. I forgot the name.
Yeah, it's,
yeah.
I guess, and they're saying, well, it's not that crazy because it ranks, the Golf Channel is 94th on the list, but they don't show the majors. So
no, the Golf Channel doesn't show. Golf shows like highlights. They show
some tournaments, but they don't the big ones. And so it is thing. It isn't going to hurt, but I don't think it helps as much. By the way,
LIV Golf, Jesse, they needed this. They needed to go like this, they needed.
Well, they did.
That.
Now, up to this point, we said like, "Hey, let's get David Faraday on this." 2 weeks later, they get David Faraday. By the way, I'm like, I love this Tracy Mullins girl. She's
awesome,
amazing,
awesome,
and
we have to get her on the show.
Oh,
we have
my
to
gosh.
get her on the show
I would love it.
she was a long drive champion.
Yes.
And we do have to get her on the show because I think she'd be fantastic.
Yeah, she's awesome. And
I'll work on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like she's coming back. So there was some speculation that she wouldn't. She posted some weird cryptic things on Instagram that people thought maybe she was leaving, but it doesn't look like she is. So, but anyway, they've signed a multi-year deal with CW now. So it's a multi-year. We'll see what happens.
Does it say how much?
I don't see anywhere where how much.
Yeah,
it is.
That has to be. They have to be with bigger people, bigger. Like if they're what are they 29th? They said network
25th. CW is rated 25th for watch, but they don't do any sports.
Yeah, they needed someone in the top 10. Yeah, they needed someone in the top 10.
Yeah, or like TNT, like would have been awesome. That would have been great.
Yeah,
But again, okay, whatever. So it is what it is. But here we are.
They need someone to hype it up. They need a promoter. That's it.
Yeah, they need some other people. Like, it is true. That being said, I can't let it go. The Super Bowl was tainted yesterday.
It was.
It was a great game up to that point, but all we're talking about today, which we shouldn't be, is that call. And it's sad because the game was awesome. Both teams played crazy. Like, it was awesome.
I agree.
And now we're talking about this all day, and everybody has been, because it just doesn't make sense. This doesn't.
It does not.
I wish I got to find the feed of there's always a camera on Goodell, always, all the time. I want to see when they made that call, what his face did, because if it wasn't like, oh my God, what did they just do?
Don't do that.
If it was like, oh yeah, fine, he fired immediately. He should.
Yeah.
Be. Who were we firing today? Who was firing? Oh, we're firing all the officials and Roger Goodell.
And go check the age of most officials in the NFL, how old they are. Too old.
Yeah, they're all part-time. They're all retired.
Yeah, too old. Judges, lawyers.
Yeah.
Too old. Too old.
Well, everybody.
I don't get it, Jesse. If you listen, I said it to you the other day. If you got back hair, that's not your fault.
No.
But if you leave that back hair on you, that is your fault.
That's your fault.
It's a disgrace.
You can do something about it.
You could do something about it. And I'm telling you, we have the product for you. And I'm telling you, sleekly designed.
Yeah.
Backscape, everybody. And go to backscape.com today to purchase your own Backscape. Because like I said earlier, it's not a disgrace if you have back hair. It is if you leave it there.
It is.
And don't forget about Crystal Glass, everybody. Crystal Glass, your clear choice for all your glass needs. Call 310-GLASS or go to crystalglass.ca for all your glass needs, automotive, residential, and commercial.
Well, everybody, it was a great football season, mostly.
Wah, wah, wah.
We got a long 6 months of that, but there's more sports.
That's
NBA, right. NHL picking up steam, golf's coming back, and tennis just happened.
Let's make pickleball bigger too, because I think that's
Jamie Foxx was out playing the other day.
He was, eh?
Yep.
Wow.
Says it's awesome. All the guys on what show is that? Not Spitting Chicklets, another one. Whatever.
Yeah.
They're all playing it now. It is actually, the people are like, oh, this
very
is amazing.
addictive.
It is very addictive. Well, everybody, until next time, that's Mark Pavelich. I'm Jesse Martineau. I'm sorry for you Eagles fans, but hey, you got the cheesesteaks down the road to go eat, so eat some of those. Drown your sorrows in delicious cheese and meat. We'll see you next time. Not next week. It's a holiday here. But the week after.
What holiday?
It's Family Day in Alberta.
That's right.
Yeah. I don't know where it is and everywhere else, but.
Yeah, I was just curious what it was. I knew we were off, but I was like, what is that? Yeah.
But we'll see you in a couple weeks' time. Monday night, 5 p.m. Mountain. Bye. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching the Me and Jesse podcast. Follow us at facebook.com/meandjesse. Thanks for watching the Me and Jesse podcast. Follow us at facebook.com/me